Jewish, what word am I thinking about? Practices? Is that the word? I think it's practices, so I'm gonna use it.
Hi, says the girl with the right eyes that pairs pretty well when she hits you with the soft smile.
Hi friends, it's Rory, and today I'm doing a book review. It's been a while since I've done a book review. I think the last one I did was actually on With the Fire on High, which was in like December. Oof. I haven't seen a lot of hype over this book, and I really enjoyed it, and so I wanted to kind of like talk about it and hopefully get more people to read it because it's super duper fun. And that book is What I Like About You by Marissa Cantor. So I originally found out about this book last year while I was doing research for my 20 books I'm excited for in 2020. If you've been on my channel for a while or you happen to like go through my videos, you'll know that I did 2 of those. I did one that was exclusively LGBT plus books, and then one that was books that were not LGBT plus. That didn't mean that there weren't characters that were. It just meant that like it wasn't specifically about someone in that community. This was part of the non-LGBT plus books that I talked about. I was really excited to read it. When I saw that my library got it, I actually picked it up immediately, and then I held it out of the library for approximately 4 months without reading it. I just kept renewing my renewal because I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get to it eventually, and I finally got it. So what is this book about? This book is about a girl named Haley, and she runs a book blog called One True Pastry, where she will review books, talk about books while pairing them up with cupcakes. And on that blog, she goes by the name of Kelsey, or Kels for short. She also has a best friend through that blog whose name is Nash. The thing is that no one knows that Kels is Haley, and so when she moves in with her grandfather for her senior year of high school and suddenly realizes that she is at the same school as Nash, it becomes a problem because she doesn't want to ruin their friendship by, you know, telling him that she is actually Kels. And then the longer that goes on, the more awkward that it turns out to be. I originally wanted to pick it up because of the tagline for this book. So the tagline is it still a love triangle if there are only 2 people involved? And I heard that and I was like, my interest, it's here. Tell me more about this. The other reason that I was really interested is because I have a lot of book related content, and I also bake. I love baking. I actually have a video where I baked one of my best cookie recipes while I did the books and baking tag. I will link that in the card wherever it comes up. And I like to bake in general. The baking along with the blogging thing also reminded me a lot of Check Please. All of those things kind of like combined into like a genuine interest in the story. So now I'm gonna go ahead and talk about some of the themes of this book. So a big theme is kind of like your internet persona versus your real life persona. So like Haley is Haley, but she is also Kels. And one big reason why she doesn't want to tell Nash that, you know, she is Kels is because she sees Kels as more of her like perfected version of herself. Like Kels is more confident and she, you know, is smarter and she's not anxious, the best version of Haley. And she feels like if she says that Kels is Haley, he suddenly won't like her as much, and people in her life who know her only as Kels won't like her as much because Haley is, you know, awkward and she's got anxiety and she, you know, is the daughter of 2 famous documentarians and all this stuff. She's worried that people won't like her as much as Haley as they do Kells, which I totally get. I mean, everyone kind of has like an internet persona that they kind of live through. Like, I feel much more confident in myself when I'm on Twitter or TikTok or BookTube here. I feel much more like a much more confident version of myself. So I completely get that. Another theme is how YA books written for teenagers, it shouldn't be a shameful thing that you wrote a book for a teenager, that your teenagers are your biggest fans. There is a book in this which is Haley's favorite book of all time, and the author of it starts to be really, really shitty, basically saying like, you know, I wrote this book and a lot of teenagers like it, but it's not for teenagers, even though it's a YA book. Along with that, the book is currently becoming a movie. There's parts where she like rags on the movie choices for being aimed specifically at teenagers. They need to be able to, you know, see themselves in it and be able to consume that media without judgment, especially from the people writing it. Kind of along the same line, and which came at an absolutely perfect time when I read this. I think the universe was telling me something and picking it up, was the classic, you know, death of the author and being able to separate art from the creator is another kind of like big theme in here, which lines up perfectly with what's happening. This is more like, wow, this author is really shitty and isn't afraid of taking money from her teenage fans, but absolutely does not respect them and kind of actually hates them. She also has to kind of like accept that with a platform as big as the one that she has, any type of support that she gives towards a book, even if it is against the author but still supporting the book, is going to be seen as kind of like supporting the author no matter what, and that she's going to get some hate from it. Haley and some of the other characters in here have to go through like, am I still willing to support something that has been kind of tainted by this author? And especially Haley, because the book that it's her favorite book, but in addition to that, her grandmother is very closely connected to it. Her grandmother is actually a publicist or an editor or something in the publishing world. The book that is in here was one of the last things that she kind of was involved in. And so it's not just that the book is her favorite book, it's more like the book is her favorite book, but it also helps her feel connected to her grandmother, which leads on to the next theme, which is grief, which I had no idea that there was even a grief element to this book. Like, the synopsis doesn't mention that her grandmother just died. You just know that she's moving in with her grandfather. But in this book, her grandmother died about 6-ish months ago. Her and especially her grandfather are both very much experiencing the grieving process. And it's really, really well kind of like constructed. In this, like, you see her, especially in her grandfather, you see the grandfather go through kind of like the stages of grief. Not all of them, naturally, because it has been a little bit, but you see kind of like him working his way through grief and her working her way through grief because she was so close to her grandmother. The last kind of like theme is wanting to like make it on your own, like wanting to be acknowledged for your accomplishments because of your own work, not other people's work. So Haley wants to go to NYU. The reason that she starts her online persona of Kells is because she knows that, you know, her parents are famous documentarians and her grandmother is a big person in the publishing industry. And so those naturally have, you know, sort of big steps. So if people knew those things, automatically she would have get a bigger platform faster because of those things. But in addition to that, anything that she herself accomplishes could always go back to everyone else. Like, oh, of course she got so big so fast. It's because her grandmother works in publishing. Oh, of course she got so big so fast. It's because her parents are famous. Things like that. And she really wanted to show that, you know, she herself was determined enough, strong enough, able to get where she is on her own. So she made an online persona that had none of those things, and she worked her way through herself, basically, which is really, really cool, and I like that. Some other things that I also enjoyed about the book, all of the online book talk. It was so in between each chapter are things like this. So these are some tweets based on the actual book that's going on. There's also like private DM messages between the characters. One of the characters has a comic, and so there are a few comic pages thrown in, and along with that there are a couple of like news articles. All of those are happening between the chapters. Some of the tweets though, I swear I have read word for word. What's a word for nostalgic, even though you're currently living it? Like, I read it and I was like, oh, that reminds me of real life. Is there a good word for that? Because that's kind of how I felt about it. So like, if you are someone who follows book content, that is going to be really, really fun. Another thing is the anxiety representation. Haley has anxiety, and I personally really felt connected to it. Like, her anxiety like closely aligned with my anxiety, and so kind of getting to see that representation was good for me. Another thing I really enjoyed were the two friend groups. So there are two. There's the online friends, and then there is the real life group of friends, and both of them were enjoyable. You do know less about the online friends than you do the real life friends. One big thing, and I'm gonna say this in the least spoilery way that I can, is that there is a good reference, or like there's a good conversation in the idea of you have to pick sides in an argument, and why people feel that way, and why that may not necessarily be true, that I really enjoyed. Another thing that specifically the online friend, but also the main guy Nash here, kind of like has, that I really enjoyed, is talking about having to earn trust back, and also that trust isn't naturally, or like forgiveness isn't something that automatically needs to be given. Like, it's something that has to be earned back. I really, really liked the conversations that were in there on that. I also fucking love the main character's little brother. His name is Ollie. He's amazing. He's my absolute favorite character. I adore him. He's so funny. But his relationship with Haley and like their kind of like brother-sister dynamics are top notch. Absolutely adore it. The main character is, actually most of the characters in here are Jewish. The town that they moved to is a very Jewish central town. I am criminally uneducated on like Jewish practices. I don't know a lot about them, and so it was fun to kind of like learn some things about the Jewish faith in this book. And I really do want to read more like books where the main characters are Jewish, start to kind of like learn more about people who are Jewish, things like that. Meanwhile, in non-spoilery ways, things that I didn't enjoy as much, I didn't like how long the secret lasted. So going into it, I knew that, you know that Haley is keeping a secret from Nash, that she is Kel's. I knew that was going to be a big thing. It stressed me the fuck out, my guy. I was literally sitting at the table. I was like this. I was reading it and I was just like, it was so stressful at times. But along with that, this is a pretty girthy book. Like it lasts pretty long. And because of how long it lasts, there are some conversations that feel like they happen a bunch of times, especially between Ollie and his sister, and that kind of got annoying, that kind of repetition. It doesn't annoy me too much. It was just really stressful So, like, it's a bad thing, but it's also a good thing. Because I wanted to pick up this book for the entire premise of that. And then, like a clown, I end up being like, yeah, but I kind of didn't like this part. That's just me being an idiot. Another thing, Nash. He's the main character. He's the love interest. Part of me doesn't like him. I don't know why. Just, I never vibed with him, if you feel me. That may be a personal problem. There's also some things that he does towards the middle that kind of annoy me. I don't hate him. He's okay. I just don't particularly like him. So in the end, I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. There was actually a moment where I was contemplating giving it 5 stars, but then I like sat back, thought about it a little, realized that I couldn't give it a 5 out of 5 stars. And gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, but I still highly recommend it. So yeah, I would suggest picking this book up if you are a teenager. This is a book written for teenagers, and it's unapologetically written for teenagers. That's, like I said, it's a big theme of books being written for teenagers, and there is no shame in it. Another thing is, if you are involved in book content in any way, I think you will enjoy this book. It's, like I said, it's nostalgic while you're currently living that life. I don't know what that word is. Maybe one of you guys can help me figure out a word for it. But I think you would enjoy this if you are involved in book content at all. And with that, that is the end of this review. I hope that you guys want to pick up this book. I'm going to try to start to do a little bit more book reviews because I kind of think that they're fun in a way. And also, I've read some books that I really, really want other people to read. So I'm planning a couple. As always, I hope that you guys had a great time with me today. There's a link down below where you can register to vote. I am begging you, please make sure that you are registered to vote. This is a very important election. Along with that, there are links and resources to other social issues that are happening in the world right now. I hope that you guys had a great time with me today. Bye!
They don't wanna talk, they don't wanna feel the voice in my head saying I don't think I'm. They don't wanna talk, they don't wanna feel the voice in my head saying I don't think I'm real, 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 I don't think I'm. I don't know where my head's been at.